All right. I said something self-deprecating right before I came back in.
That's right.
So let me just sort of try to steer this in one direction. I don't want to sort of entirely. Here's what I don't want to do. I do not want to act out the process of the polarization that I am identifying. I want to understand it, right? So, and also it's my show, so I want to sort of set the terms of what I think is worth discussing and what not. But I don't want to talk about immaterial things. I mean, to me, the idea of sort of changing the topic to the new Black Panther Party, which is this sort of right-wing bête noire, which is this completely marginal, bizarre group, full, as far as I can tell, of idiots who have stupid and in some senses totally hateful views on things, right? But the question of why this is, here's what we think. This is how blacks and whites see race in the Trayvon Martin killing. This is a Newsweek Daily Beast poll, which is an actual poll, not the internet poll that was being cited on Reuters, which I thought it was a little dodgy because it was an internet poll, and I thought it was a little unclear what the results were. Trayvon's killing was racially driven. 80% of African Americans say it was. 35% of whites say it was. Now, we see these sorts of racial splits all the time. I think that's a product of experience and sort of first-person experience and all these things. But I just don't understand. To go back to this question, not to talk about the New Black Panther Party, not to talk about whatever Al Sharpton has or has not done. Why feel the need to take that other side of the bet? Why is it the case that conservatives feel like, okay, well now, because this is how it looked to me. It looked like liberals took up this cause, and so there was a feeling like, well, if liberals are taking up the cause, well then we have to be on the other side of it. But maybe they don't have to.
Chris, what conservatives also saw in this circumstance was also the attack on gun rights. And so,
you're very nicely pivoting to our next segment. keep going.
And so, I think that conservatives also felt the need to make sure that they had an appropriate response as well, because what of course happens in one state could very well happen in another state, and they have a huge domino effect. So
I get that point, but can they also look? That's legitimate. But what to me is problematic is that there's no time taken out. Even the lawyer, Mark Morrow, to me was remarkably graceful.
Yeah, he
acknowledged that this was a loss of life. That's the first thing he said. And it seems to me conservatives can't even take the cue from the defender of George Zimmerman by saying the loss of life was tragic. This is a tragic occurrence in American society. Now, we happen to disagree about what the consequences of that are, but the fact itself remains that this is a tragedy.
I will say, as a factual matter, that is exactly the note that Bill O'Reilly began his interview of Trayvon Martin's mother. So
right. I don't just mean the rhetoric of it. I mean the actual acknowledgement of it, engaging with human beings, talking to people in African American communities that perhaps you haven't talked to before to see why, we're white guys. Bill O'Reilly and Geraldo Rivera can wear hoods and hoodies at a game and it's all right, whereas the dress of black people comes under severe scrutiny. I mean, those kinds of consequences need to be taken seriously. So the empathy doesn't end with rhetoric. It begins with the example in your own life of modeling behavior that is reaching out to other people with whom you disagree.
But you know what, though? I think as far as rhetoric is concerned, and what a lot of the protests have sort of scared people over has been some of the other, perhaps, crimes that have happened outside of Florida. There have been reports of perhaps some crimes that have happened where maybe the perpetrator has perhaps said Trayvon Martin's name. There has been this is just reports.
Yeah,
that
the only verifiable one is Tulsa, where some white guys killed some black guys.
And I was going to go into that actually. And so whether it was that particular, I believe that happened in Oklahoma.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's one we can verify. Can you verify the one you're speaking of?
Well, no. I'm actually just making my case here with both cases, and that is what concerns people. Is that what exactly?
But white panic is not justification. When I say about white panic, let me say this: what I mean. During the Civil Rights Movement, the clip that was played earlier, look at the reporters asking Dr. King not about the vicious police brutality, not about segregation, not about Jim Crow. They're asking about what are the Negroes going to do. We're not going to acknowledge what we've done. We simply want to talk about black response. And here now, black people are being put on trial. Not just Trayvon Martin. We're being put on trial.
The response to white violence against blacks is how are black people? We're so scared that black people are going to respond.
Exactly.
No, but you see, it isn't just how black people are going to respond. It's also we're seeing these like white neo-Nazis neo-Nazis who are also going up to Florida as well. And people are thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to happen now? We're going to see all these things. We're going to see
against neo-Nazis from the conservatives.
No. This isn't about
right.
We're seeing these crazy groups going up there, and people are thinking, what's going to happen?
And Sean Hannity is speaking out against that?
Yes, he is actually. He is speaking out against that.
Let me return to two things here. One is that I think my concern as this case goes forward is the court TVization of the trial. You know what I mean? Which is that I worry about 6 months of essentially lots of lawyers not involved in the case on TV talking about the case, right? Which is it's absolutely a circus. And and you know what? Trials of the century and that sort of thing. If you want to hang it on cable news, that's fine. But go back and read your history books about trials of the century that happened way before there was cable news. This is people get really worked up about trials. Right. Secondly, though, the point about guns I think is a substantive core of where part of this is happening, right? And obviously, yesterday was the NRA convention. Mitt Romney gave a speech to the NRA, and we happen to have a reporter, a colleague and a friend of mine, Gary Young, who is at the convention. He's going to join us via satellite right after we take this break.